Hi, I'm Elise Dewsberry. I am the artistic director of New Musicals Inc., and we are the producers of the web series So Proudly We Hailed. And I'm here today with Paulo Goncalves, who is the subject of our episode, The Messenger. Paulo is a retired colonel from the Portuguese Air Force and is joining us today from Lisbon. Paulo, can you tell us a little bit about the history of your service?
Oh, the service.
Yeah. Shortened version.
Exactly. I joined the Air Force in 1981, when I was 19, just because I loved airplanes. Nothing special beyond that. But I suddenly realized that being in the military was the thing for me to do, due to all the cultural, organizational environment that we lived in. Everything was so perfect that why should I live? And they even paid for me to stay there. So I spent 39 years of my life as an Air Force officer. And throughout that career, I did, as you can imagine, lots of things, lots of different things. My initial skills were air traffic control, and but very rapidly we accumulate other skills because we are a very small air force, and we have to do whatever NATO allies need us to do, and it has to be made at the same levels of capabilities and expertise as anybody else. So you really have got to engage in other activities, and I got involved in all sorts of skills, chemical warfare, strategic communications, lots of things. Among all of that was participating in peacekeeping operations, which was when I was a young captain. This was late 80s, early 90s. The Berlin Wall came down and the Soviet Union was disassembled. We didn't have an enemy anymore, and everything was very good. Let's enjoy the peace dividend. And guess what? The entire world started to have wars all over the place. And I was sharing my family dinner time with images in the TV of people mourning their children, people, homeless people in the harsh winter conditions, and there was this in the early 90s. There was this feeling all over the place that this thing had to stop. So I decided to engage also in this um, skill of becoming a peacekeeper, and that opens a different environment. All in all, you have to keep on thinking as a military with your professionalism, your skills, but uh, now the concern is not applying legal violence, but saving people from illegal groups to apply violence on those people. There was a former UN Secretary General that once said that peacekeeping is not a soldier's job, but only the soldiers can do peacekeeping, because that's where the knowledge is, that's where the endurance, the resilience, and the equipment and the numbers are. So I embraced the peacekeeping sub career, let's call it this way, because whenever a mission would finish, I would return to my normal tasks in the Air Force. I work in 25 different countries, um, sometimes in very, very short periods of time, other times in longer periods. I was almost 3 years in a row in Afghanistan. So sometimes it was a long mission, other times it was a very short mission. But again, we are a small air force, so we have to do whatever it's needed to be done. So
Paulo,
this is it.
That's an amazing career, Paulo, and we certainly thank you for everything that you've all the service that you've given. What I wanted to ask you next is, how did you happen to hear about our project, So Proudly We Hailed, and what made you decide to apply, especially since I believe that so far you are the only foreign national who has applied for our program. So tell me how you heard about it. What made you think it would be something to apply for?
Well, there was when I retired, um, I was having a bad time concerning readjusting the routine. You know, you take the camouflage fatigue out, and now you are in civilian attire, and you don't have to go to a certain meeting at a certain hour, and you have got to produce this amount of words in this amount of time. Everything stopped, and guess what? It becomes very stressful not having anything to do. And I was discussing these kind of things with PTSD, also problems through the internet, when somebody out of nowhere simply showed up in the chat that we were having among the peacekeepers saying, do you guys know about this NMI program project? And this person was Melissa Milic. And I looked at it. I mean, the other guys looked at it and said, yeah, okay. But I really looked at it and said, that's new. I haven't thought of that. That's it. Okay. So this is what is going to get me through the adaptation period from the camouflage into the tire. And I got involved and I applied, and I was actually very surprised when I was told that I was elected for the story to become a musical. I'm going to be honest with you. I have never thought about having a musical. I did write several books. One of them is available on Amazon. It's about the war in Bosnia, but there is another one about the war in Angola and another one about the war in Afghanistan, which are about to be published also in Amazon as self-publisher. Um, but when one thing is to write a story, the other thing is to write a story to become a musical. Um, but I was very, very, very lucky with the team that I was working with. And my composer Ryan she's just great. I mean, the only thing that I regret is that it is over. I wish we would carry on doing more. It was magnificent time. I was always eager for the Zoom meeting to happen every week because it was every week. Even if we didn't have anything to say to each other, every week we were meeting, discussing little details. Yeah, I don't like that particular part of the poem. What if you slow down the pace here, bring it more there? And he simply kept having this personality that the music has got to portray the veterans' feelings, not the words, the feelings. It's more than the words; it's the feelings. And Ryan did an outstanding job. And then, I mean, you guys came out with the perfect singer and actor. I mean, you should see the reaction in Portugal. There was this idea of, why don't we have this in Portuguese? Why don't we have this played by a symphonic band? Why don't we have this sung by a Portuguese singer, actor? And that's when these people that were saying this, they hadn't seen Enrique singing yet. When they saw it, they said, well, nah, not a good idea. Because he was not only singing, he was interpreting. I mean, he is not a singer; he's an actor, and it was very, very powerful, very powerful. I saw a general with tears in his eyes. Uh, it, So it's a big success.
Oh, that's
And
great. That's Eduardo Enriquez you're talking about, who played the
yes,
role, and of course Ryan Martin, who wrote the lyrics and
yeah.
the music and did such a lovely job. So
And you also helped a lot. Let's be honest here.
I did try to help guide a little bit, but yes, I think it came out very successfully. And I agree with you that at one point I thought it would be great, and I still do, to do two different films of it, one in Portuguese and one in English. So the Portuguese one with English subtitles and the English one with
Yeah.
Portuguese subtitles. And I did, and I knew, you're going to laugh at me because I know Eduardo, of course, speaks Spanish. He is not
Yes.
Portuguese,
Yeah.
and I know that there's a big difference. So but I still went to Eduardo and I said, "Do you think that you could, if Paulo writes the translation, do you think that you could do this in Portuguese as well as English?" And Eduardo said, "No, no, 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 I can't do that." And I totally understand; they're not the same. But I still would love at some point for us to especially if we're going to continue, which I hope we do, to work with international veterans. I think it would be great to figure out a way for us to film it here in English with subtitles of whatever the original language is, and then perhaps for our partners in another country to film it there in their own language with English subtitles. I think it's worth looking into. I think it would be great.
Yes, there will be a problem though, which is the lyrics.
Yes.
You cannot translate that. I
Yes.
mean, Ryan did a very good job in the conversations we had. He pushed words that I was saying, like, Ryan, you don't make a difference by staying at home. And suddenly, oh, that's in the music. But if I say this in Portuguese,
Doesn't sound the same.
it doesn't sound good.
No, it's very true. For lyrics, it would take more than just a translation. It would have to be completely rewritten, and that is a task. Yeah.
Yes.
Very true.
Although you may not be aware, I have been asked to make subtitles in French.
Oh.
The French want to see it, mais pas en anglais. They want French words.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to escalate a little bit, and we just have to be careful.
Yeah.
Not to.
Well, that actually leads me to my next question, Paulo. I was going to say that when we were shooting the episode with Eduardo, you let us know that May 29th was
Yes.
International UN Peacekeepers Day, and that there was going to be a special event in Lisbon that you were going to be a part of and that you wanted to be able to screen it. So we sort of, rushed the editing for that episode to make sure we could get it to you in time, and you were able to present it there. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that event and what it was like for you to be there and to be able to screen the episode at the event.
This is a successful story because of that also. My initial idea was simply to have something to show through the social media platforms, and eventually to some friends that I have on the Portuguese media, to show something about peacekeeping on the Peacekeepers Day, an individual effort. However, after we had that initial contact, you see, when I go to missions, I make diaries. Captain Log, 27 September, there I was. And not only I write, I draw, because in the United Nations, and also in NATO, but especially in the United Nations, you are not supposed to take pictures, because the other side may think that you are providing information to the other side. So you don't take pictures. Okay, I don't take pictures, I draw. So I have a quite reasonable collection of drawings, cartoons, maps, and other stuff. And I was invited to make an exhibit of my cartoons, UN cartoons, at this event. And this is when I told them, well, you want cartoons? Do you also want a video? And everything stopped. And they said, a video? Well, a video about what? About a mission, a musical. Oh, come on, a musical. What are you going to bring? Singing in the rain? And that's when I showed the teaser, and everybody said, okay, surrender. I rest my case, bring it. And there was a military parade with the Minister of Defense, the Chief of the Joint Staff, all the 4 stars and big stuff, reduced mode because of the pandemic, but every VIP that should have been there, it was there. After the parade and all the military honors and flowers to the deceased, come back and blah blah blah. Let's go and see this exhibit. And then there was lots of things to be inaugurated in the museum. And then we had everything ready. You guys delivered the video just in time. We have tested it. It was perfect. And we have invited the people, almost as a surprise, we have invited the people to sit down, starting with the minister. And the minister was saying, what is happening here? And they sat down, and I was asked to introduce what was going to happen. So I've explained the NMI project. I've explained the reason for the music, what they were going to see. And then they saw it. And it was very, very, very moving. I just to give you an example, I went back to the back of the room to let the VIPs to see that, and there was this gentleman I have never seen before. We were having masks. If I cross with him today in the street, I don't know who he is. But this guy came to me, and his voice was embargoed. And he said, thank you for reminding me how is it to drive through Mount Igman. He had been there. He had forgotten what it was like. And the music, Enriquez was saying everything that he was remembering. And it was very moving. I was touched just for that little thing. And afterwards, of course, congratulations from all sectors. And we have got to have this in our websites. The Joint Chiefs of Staff asked, and I did ask permission to NMI. They have published the video on their official website as an example. And I think even the police force had shared the video among their internal network, because they have policemen on peacekeeping missions. And afterwards, I had meetings with the Portuguese Combatants League, which is sort of the veterans. We have a different concept of combatants and veterans. And they have decided to start thinking about having our own NMI style project. When I say our, I mean Portuguese, which is something difficult to organize, let's be honest. And I might even ask later on you guys to support us as far as technical advisory for that project. Afterwards, I have shared the video with other peacekeeping institutions. I've sent the video to the United Nations, to the Office of the United Nations Secretary General himself, and to the second largest headquarters of the UN is in Geneva. I've sent it to Geneva. Actually, they want to do something there with that video. I have discussed with the international community of peacekeeping veterans, not the official thing, the veterans. I think we are in a good pattern to promote the NMI project among, I would say, 23, 24 countries at this moment. But these are only the countries that have peacekeeping veterans associations, because the list is much bigger, but those are not organizations; they are individuals. So yeah, I mean, I do not know if you guys are aware how successful NMI is among the this side of the Atlantic.
It's very exciting to hear. I've heard hints of it from Melissa and
Okay.
seen some of your reports, and it's just fascinating to hear. And we're so thrilled because we so much enjoyed working with you on it. So what do you feel is next then, Paolo? What do you think with this project, and what about you and your cartoons, and what do you think is going to happen next for you?
Well, like I said, I'm going to try and publish the book about my mission in Angola, because actually that's the funniest one, not the Bosnian one. The one that's got more funny and also tetric stories is the Angola book. So I'm going to try and do that because I write in Portuguese. So writing it again in English, it's not a translation, it's another book.
Mm.
There are lots of things that I cannot put in English because they only make sense in Portuguese. And then again, I look again to my diaries and I say, why don't I put this here? Things that I did not write in Portuguese because it didn't make sense, but in English they do. So it's not the same book. It's almost the same book. And so having to write it all over, it will occupy me some time. And then I've got to think about the Afghan book also, which is a large one. Um, and I've got all this NMI interest in the European community, and they have asked me to engage in making advisory. And this story, it's okay, but you got to work on this part. Um, and also there are also little details on political aspects that we have got to take care of. So yeah, I think I'm going to be very busy, and I think I'm going to wish to bring the fatigue again because this is coming too much.
It's stressful to have nothing to do, and it's stressful to have too much to do. It's
That's the environment of a peacekeeping operation. You have peaks of very, very stressful situations, um, and then you have extended periods of dull situation, and
yeah.
that's when the problems start. It's when you don't have anything to do. You start making mistakes, accidents happen, stupidities happen, and that's where the traumatic situations come up
Mm-hmm.
because you have lots of things that you have not solved. And guess what? Writing the story helps a lot getting rid of PTSD. It helps a lot.
Yes, we've heard that many of the veterans we're working with have written other things just like you have, and they have found that the actual writing of their stories really helps them get it sorted out in a way that they can cope with it. Speaking of that, now, Paulo, you said that at least a couple of your books are available on Amazon. Can you tell us what the titles are in case anybody wants to find them?
Only at this very moment, only one is available in Amazon. It's called Bosnia 95, Peacekeeping in a War Zone, which is a paradox. I mean, we the peacekeepers, should not have been sent to Bosnia when the war was still on. There was no peace to keep. So how could you be a peacekeeper? We were in the middle of the war, and in my case, for instance, I was a UN observer. We were not allowed to have a weapon to defend ourselves. So yeah, we were in the middle of the confrontation line, bullets flying from one side to the other, and we didn't have a weapon to defend ourselves. My weapon was the UN flag, little way. I am UN, and expecting somebody to say, yeah, that's a good guy or not. Um, so that's why 230 blue helmets died in that 3 years mission. So It was hard. It was a mistake, but it was a school for the UN. Things that we hear about now, like protection of civilians, that was not in our mission mandate. If we saw something, we only were allowed to use lethal force in self-defense, not in anybody else's defense. That was a lessons learned. Now the UN mandates have a lot of worry and concern on protection of civilians. Robust peacekeeping, another concept out of Bosnia, too soft. No, we cannot be too soft. It must be robust peacekeeping. So Bosnia was a classroom for the UN. Officially, it was not a successful operation, and that was the reason NATO had to come and solve the problem, because the UN couldn't. But not being operationally successful, it was the perfect classroom for the United Nations. And now we are seeing the results of the good lessons learned of Bosnia. Now we're seeing it in Africa, in Central African Republic, where the robust peacekeeping is really making a difference. Okay, and that this is why I try to tell to my potential readers in my books. I have these two types of audiences: the youngsters, the ones that haven't been there. I put there all my lessons learned, from how to take a bath in the middle of the ice. You bath yourself with a towel. Okay. How to iron your uniform without electricity. You boil water and you use the pan to iron your clothes. So these lessons are there for the youngsters to learn, for the veterans to laugh, because they will remember this.
Oh, that's great, Paulo. Thank you. Well, I can't thank you enough, Paulo, for sharing your story with us and allowing us to tell it. And I'm so excited about all the success that's come from it. And you talk about lessons. I think The Messenger, the episode that we've done based on your story, is about learning a lesson and trying to pass that lesson on and be a messenger of peace. And so I hope that people will check out the episode, and that it will continue to grow and wind up all over the world. So thank you so much for your time, Paulo.
I thank you for having me. Thank you very much.